And the notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised January 5th, 2017. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, prominently posted on the municipal public bulletin board, filed in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Good evening.
Mr. Goriello, you have a report for us.
I do. It's the last one you're gonna get, though.
Well, I don't know about that. There's always the phone calls.
Just to bring everybody up to date on where the DOT projects are, we milled 30 of them today. That will be paved tomorrow, as well as Myrtle Avenue. That was milled. And we also milled out the excavation on Vic Willow. Tomorrow we will be paving, as I said, both Third and Myrtle, and putting the base on Willow, and milling out, I believe, Hemlock, if we get enough time. So we should be getting done with the paving by Friday. And there's still some cleanup work to do on it west, but that will be taken care of next week. But we're doing two projects at the same time. We're doing municipal aid 15 and 16, same contractor, so he's going to be paving the two jobs basically at the same time.
You said Hemlock?
I'm sorry, Hickory. Did I say Hemlock? Hickory.
Any questions for Mr. Goriello? Mr. Goriello, would you mention the meeting we have with the county?
I'm sorry, yes. We did have a meeting with the county on the tax maps, and they showed us the maps they have, which are pretty much taken, I think, from the base maps of the borough. I also discussed having to have engineer, someone from the engineering office in Westfield in my office, and we were also talking about the tax maps. They're going through the process right now, and apparently they seem to think it's between 10 and 15 hours per sheet to bring the sheets up to snuff. So, just to give you an idea. We have only 6 tax map sheets. That's
Okay, 6.
Yeah, that's 6 plus a cover sheet, but the cover sheet's not
And how much a page?
Pardon?
How much a page did you say?
About 10 to 15 hours in time.
Okay.
Most of it is today is digitizing. They have state has a prescribed way of both line weight and size of lettering and all this that they want to standardize the tax maps throughout the state of New Jersey, and they can do that. So that's what they're doing.
And has to go into the state digitized.
It has to go to the state digitized. That's correct.
Will we be able to use them on our tax maps on the software?
Will you be able to use our tax maps
Yeah,
on
I
software?
use tax maps on my software. So will they be upgraded into that system?
I don't know what programs you have on your software. Our tax maps can be either on a PDF or a AutoCAD type of format. Plus I guess everybody's on the GIS or can be on the GIS. The GIS information in the county will be taken directly from our tax maps. It's other than the fact that it's just a picture, it's right on the money. Same information we have.
And those 10 spots are going to be incorporated into the map?
Yes, I actually got an email return from the tax assessor today. She said she'll have the information to me by the end of the week.
Just one quick item, Mayor.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Goriello, thanks for the updates, and I just want to thank you for all your years of service to the Borough of Garwood. Can't believe it's your last meeting with us, but a well-deserved retirement. Wish you the best, and I know nobody knows the Garwood Brook better than you, so some big shoes to fill, but thanks again.
Well, I would like to thank the borough for the confidence they've had in me over this last 40-some years. It's been a real pleasure working with everybody, all the different people on council. I think that's 10 different mayors and 3 borough clerks who are really have been aces as far as I'm concerned. So I really appreciate having been here.
And if I may just take a moment. Donald,
You're all dressed up? That's my Sunday suit. What do you want?
Whereas Donald R. Goriello, P.E.P.L.S., has served the Borough of Garwood over 36 years. Don has held positions of collection system operator operator, construction board official, building inspector, borough engineer. Don has precise and pride-filled serve the borough of Harlem. Whereas Don's eagerness to assume responsibility along with the desire to serve our community has been displayed through his loyal dedication to service to the borough. Whereas July 1st, 2017, after 36 years, I like to say that, of devoted service to the borough, Don will take a much-deserved retirement. There, whereas it is resolved, the mayor and the municipal clerk of the borough of Garwood, County of Union, State of New Jersey, hereby publicly commend Donald Goriello, a town engineer, capacity and efficiency performance of all his duties. Congratulations, Don, on your retirement. To extend to Don is and best wishes for the future. Be it therefore resolved, the mayor and municipal clerk be hereby authorized to affirm their signature on the resolution which shall be presented to Don Goriello, adopted June 27, 2017.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Can I say it one more time? 36 years. Mr. Renard, do you have something for the council this evening?
Just ordinances, Your Honor. We did all of these ordinances. 1709, which is the capital ordinance for traffic control devices. 1711, which is the towing fee update. The 1712, which is the I call it the sandwich board sign ordinance, but it actually has to do with not just sandwich board signs, but there are some provisions that pertain to signs. Generally, it's an amendment to the sign ordinance, and then I did, Borough Administrator actually drafted my review and approved of ordinance 1715, which is the new borough engineer ordinance. And other than that, I don't think I have anything else for the matter.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Renard this evening? Hearing none. I'm sorry, Andy, do you have something for the council this evening?
Yeah, I sent you all an email about the recycling contract, so you don't have to give an answer tonight. I just wanted to make sure that you know that the bid specification has to be advertised for quite a while, so I don't like to wait till the last minute. Make sure you know, of course, that's my recommendation. What was the COLA?
I can't hear you.
You know what the COLA was in 20? If we go to extend the recycling contract at the end of this year, what the COLA would be?
I don't know what the number is.
It's around
It's relatively
69,500.
low, I can tell you
It's in
that.
that vicinity.
Say
They
that
were
again?
69,500,
So $200 more than what we're paying right now.
something like that.
Yeah.
Quote me on
So
that.
the next step would be for me to, get an agreement going with the vendor, and he can't really disagree, right? He has to.
I can't really disagree.
Right. So then we would extend it to the end of 2018, and then after that, you have to start the bid. Next year, you have to start the bid. So,
So please
you know,
review that.
if you don't mind giving me an answer soon, but I can
Okay.
prepare the specifications, and then I have to advertise it for 60 days. I don't like to wait till the last minute, things happen. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Okay, unfinished business? Hearing none, any new business? Hearing none, move on, comments and matters for discussion from members of council. Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that our green team met last week. It was our big meeting where we had all of our separate committees come together to give everybody updates on what each individual committee is up to. And it was very well attended, and I think the beautification committee updated everybody on their next step, which is to do a little bit of cleaning up and planting and mulching at the rec complex, just to help out in addition to what the DPW already does. And I know our education and outreach committee, which is Councilwoman Tedisco's committee that she liaisons, they have a big endeavor coming up, I think, with possibly a Facebook page for the Green Team and a fair at the school and a movie night, and they'll be working a lot with the school, which I think is terrific, because that was part of our desire with this green team, is to do some work with other groups and volunteers in the town. We worked with the Girl Scouts, doing some of the cleanup, going into using some of the kids at the school would be terrific, and groups at the school like the PTA. And that's sort of what this is all about. So I'm happy to see that it is really kind of moving along and everybody's doing the thing. And I know the community garden is, you're meeting Councilman Lazaro with some other towns who have gardens to sort of get some more ideas as to what we might want to do with ours. So everything's really coming together, and I'm really proud of what everybody's doing. So thank you.
I'd like to add a little comment to that. Hey, I want to know when you're meeting. I'd like to join in. Let me tell you why. You guys beautified Gary Park. Was that right? Did some of my wedding pictures there. Ran into your husband.
Yes.
Phenomenal job. So much so that the pictures came out great. So just job well
We
done
did
to the
that
whole
just
team.
for you. We knew you were coming.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'll add you to the list.
Please.
And just if I may, the mayor's wellness campaign.
Yes.
Okay, starting in September, we'll be having a 3K walk with the mayor. I've already reached out to ShopRite. We're going to have nutrition tours at ShopRite, at least 3 of them in the next couple of months after September. And also, too, we're going to start some kind of food drive for the holidays. So there are 3 things that we're attending at this point. Okay, Councilman Cooper.
Did you ever try and get the property across from the school to set up a garden for the students?
That's privately owned.
I know, I
With
spoke to
the
them.
first aid.
Nothing else.
Right across the street on the corner of Second and Walnut. There's a
Oh.
little strip of property that's
Yeah.
owned by a private business owner.
Well, I know the
Yeah.
community
Yeah, I mean,
committee is talking about
we
that.
spoke about it, and we're still, there's a lot of
Yeah, I know.
debate as to where it's gonna go. It's also the challenges of what you can actually give as far as food to schools and what you can't give, and, you know, there's just certain, so we're still in the learning process of figuring out what works best and what spaces. That's why we're going to other community gardens to see what kind of spaces they have used and what kind of models that they have used before we embark on that, so.
Yeah, because that's a good strip of property. It's all sun, and I did speak to the owner and the person that was handling it. And he said they wouldn't want a lot of money for it, so maybe it's something you can look into. It was a small amount of money. I think he was holding out with his wife.
Well,
It would be a perfect garden for the students to learn how to grow some food.
I mean, Harmon Park's pretty close too, as well. There's a back place in the Harmon Park that I think would be great.
Councilman, you have any other things? You have anything else?
Oh, no.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Okay.
I don't want to bad picture. Councilman Lazaro?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Fasciselli?
Yes, Mayor. The only thing that I wanted to bring up to everybody on council, I know that the Recreation Commission is looking to put a few more signs around town that point in the direction of where the sports and recreation complex is. I know we have 3 currently in town. 2 are on South Avenue in both directions, and there is 1 on Myrtle and Oak. But I just wanted to make sure that no one had any issues with them putting a few more signs around town coming from other directions just to point into the location as far as you know where it is.
I think so.
Not a problem at all.
Okay.
All right.
Councilman Sarno?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of meetings ago, I discussed 3 ordinances for the parking committee. I hope people took time on council to take a peek at these. One was to expand the enforcement area to 4th Ave between Cedar and the dead end, between Walnut and Maple on 4th Ave, on Oak between 4th and 5th, on 5th itself for the 2 blocks that are in Garwood, and Spruce between East and Maple. The other was to recommend an ordinance establishing the position of parking enforcement officer, whose duties in summary would be relegated to policing and enforcement of parking in the borough. And the last is the committee would recommend adjusting the salary ordinance to include a separate range for this parking enforcement officer when the day comes to hire him. It's not right now, this is just a set of the ordinances, so when council does decide when the time is right, they can do so. And the chief recommends a salary range of $15 to $17 per hour. Do I have an agreement from everyone on council to go forth and instruct the attorney to write up the ordinances?
I have no problem with that.
I'm all in favor.
I'm all in favor of it as well.
Okay.
Great.
So we have
Just
a
one
consensus?
follow-up question. I think I brought it up at that meeting.
Yeah.
Was there any desire to expand the enforcement to Liberty and Union, or not this
That
time?
wasn't discussed at the parking committee meeting at this time.
Okay. I think it's something that should be on the radar too. Although smaller streets tucked away back there, it might become another issue. We'll see, but as is right now, I'm all in favor.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you will too. Let's sneak right back in there, so. You know,
It's like a hideaway.
it's a hideaway, the people know all the hideaways are on problems.
The second point that I have, in addition to this, I asked everyone to think about, we have businesses that have limited parking. I wanted to hear everyone's thoughts about granting these businesses parking passes like residents would have on the current enforcement area. So like if you lived on the 300 block of Willow, for instance, you would have a parking pass. If you had a business on South Ave, would it be permissible by anyone, with your opinion, for them to have a similar allowance?
I like the idea. How many passes per business were you thinking?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about an arbitrary number. I want to make sure we're in agreement to do something.
What does your committee think? That's my first question.
Did we decide on a number? Because I don't recall one.
I mean, just
I don't
general, just general question about business passes.
I don't think that we decided on a number because
Correct.
I don't think we got into that, but we definitely all agreed that we should have some type of a business permit parking because those are also, your people who come into town and they also need a place to park because some of the businesses don't have parking. So,
Perhaps it depends on the size of the business as well. If you have X number of employees, you're in a certain range, you get a certain number of passes, but in theory, I'm totally in favor of that.
Okay, I'm in favor of that as well. I mean, some of the businesses really don't need much parking, so I don't know whether you delegate it to the ones that are backing up, you know what I mean, to South Avenue or North Avenue. Like you have like the dentist on the corner.
I'm thinking the one businesses that are adjacent to the current enforcement area. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, we have, let's say 2 to 4 spots per business on average. If it comes out that way based on the size of the business, does that make sense arbitrarily?
I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I would suggest,
And would-
I don't have a specific suggestion, but I would suggest that we think this out thoroughly because, you have some businesses that are big businesses, you have some big businesses that have parking, you have some big businesses that don't have parking, you got to think, do I want to have the businesses that have parking, have their employees park somewhere else so they have more customer parking? I'm just thinking of
Well,
different
that's a good
issues
idea.
that
No,
could
that's okay.
arise.
No, that's fine. I mean, based on Bob's input, should we have another committee meeting with these different measures taken in place? But at least I know in theory that we're going in that direction. Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Also,
People can abuse that, they'll
I agree.
abuse that.
I agree. Next, I wanted to talk about the changes made to ordinance 17-14. I don't know if you want to take the lead on what's changed as presented in terms of what's being introduced tonight in the resolution. We're going to executive session
Yes.
about it? Okay, that's fine. We can go to executive session and then we'll discuss. I just want to at least bring it up.
No, you're right.
All right?
That was my question.
You want to go now?
Well, let's finish Councilwoman Tedesco's report.
How'd you know I had one? I'm just kidding. I do have one small item.
You always.
I know, that's
Thank
why.
you for that.
No problem. I just wanted to bring up an issue that if you drove down Cedar Street or Third Avenue in the past month or so, you might probably noticed that there was horrendous grass growth on one of the properties at the corner of Cedar and Third, and it was a real nightmare looking at that. And I know I drove past it every day. We had some residents reach out to, I know Councilwoman Blumenstock and myself, about it, and I do want to, although it lasted way too long, the police department was on it every step of the way. Unfortunately, as a bank-owned property, it was very difficult to get the bank to comply. In fact, after giving a couple chances to comply and cut the grass themselves, they did not. So then we had to step it up to the next level, which was to ask the DPW to come in and actually cut it down themselves, and then we will be billing the bank for that. Usually it doesn't get this far with bank-owned properties. This one it did, however, and I want to thank the police department for being as on it as they could, and also the DPW, literally the same day they were told to go take care of it, they did, and that was a relief to see that at least. Hopefully going forward, we won't run into those issues nearly as much, hopefully never, and I know property maintenance is something on this council's radar very seriously, looking at how we could amp up enforcement. I've also looked into our ordinance on that for foreclosed homes, and it is pretty stringent, however, enforcement's the other piece. So I just want the residents to know we're on top of it, and I want to thank the DPW for getting out there the same day.
And not to belabor the point, there was some vagrants in that home that wouldn't be taken out.
There was? Holy Lord.
So that being said, Ariana, have a motion to go into executive session.
Public comment, Mr. Mayor, first.
Okay. Public comments, anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone, state your full name and address, please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Bill Nurska, 320 Hickory. This is a minor, new one. As you know, I like to do a lot of walking and biking in town, and the other day a bunch of us went out to Grove Creations, and we tried to walk down South Avenue, North Avenue, then over to South. And I know North is State Highway, I know South's a county road, but the sidewalks in the area are horrendous. Along the houses on North, there is no sidewalk in front of Ryan's. There is no sidewalk in front of Sun's Auto Body on South. I would ask if you could please advise the police to look into the matter. It is unsafe. The sidewalks are really bad, and if we could get the property owner to install sidewalks in those areas to make Garwood more of a livable, walkable community, I would appreciate it. I'm sure other people would too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of the council. Bruce Patterson, 325 Will Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Bunch of a little item. The community garden, I know the county is having a grant process for community gardens or for children learning how to garden, so I don't know, maybe you can look into something like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just if you don't mind.
Okay.
So there is an application that comes every March, which we started the green team in March. So we decided we weren't ready to commit to what we were going to do. So we're getting ready so that we can apply for it next March. So just for that clarification.
Mayor Gurriello, as a historical committee member, sooner or later we're going to have to debrief you, I guess. Historical significance.
It's called your exit interview.
Yeah, your exit, de-scope, maybe. I was wondering, and this possibly could be the green team purview. I think I was in St. Louis, or it might have been Nashville, or one of these towns that's like site visits. But anyway, there were like these painted cows everywhere. Not everywhere, but there had to be like 20, 30 of them throughout the city, and you know, you drive around and every once in a while you see one and you get all excited, you know, some kind of statue of a cow. But anyway, maybe we could do something like that into Garwood through maybe your committee. And possibly maybe birdhouses would be simple. We're a small town, so something small and kids could paint them, or you could put them all over the town. And that would be like something catchy for people to come in and see all the birdhouses everywhere. So.
We have been talking with the Girl Scouts about similar, not
So-
exactly that,
Alright,
doing
okay.
something artistically.
Cow things.
With food in it?
Birdhouse food?
No,
He's on in 4 minutes.
What's
Yeah.
that historical committee mascot again?
What?
The crab?
And crabs everywhere. Crabs are us. No, that's a lobster.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the Petro property again, this is the 4th time, there's piles of dirt and pipes and garbage over there. You know, the chief, I guess, keeps enforcing or doing something over there, but, you know, I don't know who it is keeps dumping it over there, but I'll tell you, that's not being a good neighbor to our town. Another is the rec complex, I guess what the status of that is. If somebody could explain that to us, sit down. Also, the signs, if they do go up for the rec complex direction, that really don't put up brand new stanchions. Maybe you can piggyback the signs on existing stanchions, because we have sign pollution everywhere. That's just a suggestion. And the last, I guess, again, community, the greening of the community, maybe. But slogans, you know, I mentioned, I forgot what that slogan was. Oh, Garwood has value. But slogans are good. You know, they're catchy. They bring the people's interest about the town. Another slogan would be, give Garwood class, pick up one piece of trash or something like that. You know, I've always been pushing that, things like that. So, but anyway, that's a suggestion. I don't know what I would do that. I guess that's it for now. So, thank you very much.
Councilman Lutz, you want
Yeah, there's really no update on the rec complex as of right now, that we can divulge information, other than we are proceeding with having Falcon Group give us the actual breakdown of the costs to repair it. So we're waiting on those details as of right now. So that's all I can say about that.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Hi, Amanda Langston, 413 4th Avenue. I wanted to come tonight, and I'm a 17-year resident, homeowner, and taxpayer in Garwood. I am also a 5-year Board of Ed member. I'm a parent of 2 children, one of whom was with me tonight purely by parental scheduling snafuing. He's going to be leaving shortly. But I just wanted to introduce Ryan to you. I am one of 4 sitting Garwood Board of Ed members who have children with special needs. That's all I want to say about that. I wanted to commend the beautification green team for a beautiful job on the park. I was around for a little bit of that. Saw you, didn't realize it was your wedding, which was kind of funny. I saw a very handsome guy and a beautiful girl, but I didn't realize what it was. And I wanted to compliment you all on that. That's great. That's a great start, and we need that in town. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I
You're
appreciate the kind words.
I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anyone else at this time? Ms. Ariamo, please.
Sorry, what did you say? Okay.
Executive session, please. Thank you.
Resolution 132B, proposed resolution authorizing the executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations related to the redevelopment agreement with South Avenue Urban Renewal LLC. Matters of attorney for Dr. Sturridge, relating to the above in accordance with NJSA 10-4, closed session meetings open to public conclusion of public subject matter. Whereas it is necessary for the mayor and council of the Borough of Garwood to conduct an executive session closed to the public to discuss the above listed matters. Now therefore be it resolved that the council of the Borough of Garwood hereby move to go into executive session in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10-4 for the purpose of discussing the subject stated above, and be further resolved that the matters discussed in the minutes of the closed session shall be disclosed to the public when the reason for confidentiality no longer exists.
Do we have a motion?
So moved, Mayor.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariamo.
Councilwoman Blumenstock?
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow?
Yes.
Councilman Mazza?
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli? Aye. Councilman Sarno?
Aye.
And Council President Tedesco?
Aye.
Action will not be taken.
We're coming back, so yes, later.
Yes.
We have the regular meeting.
Yeah, still have to close out the workshop. Yes, that's correct.
There's no action.
Right.
I wonder how that would affect it.
Oh, yeah. All settled in? This time I have a motion to adjourn the workshop, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep. You can have two. Okay. I'll be with you in a second. All rise for a moment of silence. Salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If notice of this meeting is provided to the Westfield Leader advertised on January 5th, 2017. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the municipal public bulletin board, and following the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. I would ask everyone turn their cell phones off and put them in the library, please. Ms. Ariema, roll call.
Mayor Lombardo?
Here?
Councilman Blumenstock? Here. Councilman Kukrow?
Here.
Councilman Lazaro?
Here.
Councilman Petrozelli?
Here.
Councilman Sarno?
Here.
And Council President Tedisco?
Here.
Ms. Ariema, minutes?
Regular workshop and executive session minutes of the mayor and council held on June 13, 2017.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Abstained.
Ms. Ariema, communications.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities, Mayor's Advisory.
Receive and file.
Union County Board of Children Freeholders Ordinances.
Receive and file.
Rory Valley Sewage Authority minutes.
Receive and file.
And Borough of Fanwood Resolution.
Receive and file. Now we have public hearing on ordinance 17-09 and 17-10 as advertised in the Westfield Leader. Ms. Ariema, please read ordinance 17-09 by title only, please.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance authorizing the purpose of traffic control devices and equipment for the use of the Garwood Police Department and appropriating the sum of $16,000 from the capital improvement fund to finance the cost thereof.
Does anyone present wish to be heard on ordinance 17-09? Do I have a motion to close public hearing on ordinance 17-09?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 17-09?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Ariema.
Councilwoman Blumenstock. Aye. Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Petrozelli. Aye. Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Tedisco.
Aye.
Ms. Ariema, please read 17-10 by title only.
Yes, ma'am. An ordinance fixing the salaries and wages of certain officials and employees of the Borough of Garwood and the County of Union, State of New Jersey.
Do you receive any correspondence on 17-10?
None, Mayor.
Does anyone present wish to be heard concerning 17-10? Yes?
It's just something easy. Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, council. It's always easy. Bruce Banner from 325 Little Avenue. This shows up almost like every year. But I'm just wondering if it's possible to identify items that are revised, changed by like an asterisk
See? We're efficient, sir.
for all the public. Now, anyway, but maybe just by making it bold
Highlighted.
Mr. Patterson?
here.
Highlighted,
Here.
that's the old one. And and behind it is the new one. I mean, I'll show you.
No, you're not gonna show me, I mean, I'll look
This
at
is
it.
the old
And Mr.
one,
Patterson for the public.
that's
Yeah, that's right.
the old one. And
Yeah,
this
I have,
This is the new one. These highlighted ones are filled positions. Nobody has those jobs. And these are the ones I got updated. The highlighted,
well,
okay?
I'm just saying, on this, what is shown as
Okay, forget that.
revised?
This is last year's, so this is last year's. This is what the original work made from. Last year's. Okay, this is this year's. These positions are here, but no one holds them. Okay?
You expect me to answer this question?
And this is what got changed. What's highlighted on here got changed on here.
Okay, okay.
Okay?
That's my
Here,
copy?
side by side, yes.
Okay, thank you very much. But no, what I was leading up to though, the public has access to this, you know, which is piled here.
And last year's is on the website as well. They're all on the website.
Okay, but I'm just saying, this document, would you be able to, is it possible to, I
The
know,
council would have to direct me to provide
Yeah.
that kind of document, it's not a citizen.
I think we got the point across. Thank you very much, Annette.
Do you have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 17-10?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
I have a motion to adopt ordinance 17-10.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pedroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
And Council President Tedisco.
Aye.
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 17-11 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to amend Chapter 160 towing of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to revise towing regulations and fees.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 17-11?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Sorry. Councilman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pedroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
And Council President Tedisco.
Aye.
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 17-12 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. An ordinance to amend 106-138 regulatory standards, 106-39 definitions, 106-141 signs permitted in the central business, general business, and community commercial zones, 106-142 signs permitted in the light industrial/commercial zones, and 106-144 general provisions in Article 11, signs in Chapter 106, land use of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to permit and regulate portable signs in certain commercial zoning districts to modify other sign regulations.
Do I have a motion to introduce 17-12?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pedroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
And Council President Tedisco.
Aye.
Ms. Ariano, please read ordinance 17-13 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements in, by, and for the Borough of Garwood in the County of Union, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $433,000 to pay the cost thereof, to appropriate various grants, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 17-13?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pedroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Tedisco.
Aye.
Please read ordinance 17-14 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Ordinance of the Borough of Garwood, County of Union, New Jersey, approving the application for a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of a financial agreement with South Avenue Urban Renewal LLC.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 17-14?
So moved. Second.
At this time, I'd like to, Mr. Northbridge, step forward and give us some information on this topic. Excuse me.
Absolutely, Mayor. What you have in front of you is, this is the process to approve what is colloquially known as a pilot. This is part of one of the last parts, actually, the suite of actions that we started some considerable period of time ago. This is the final piece on that side. You also have tonight the redevelopment agreement now before resolution. What you are approving tonight is you're authorizing a long-term tax exemption and authorizing the execution of an agreement. The agreement that we originally sent over to you, as we discussed in closed session, and it was appropriate to discuss out here, Councilman Sarno took the lead and brought, through me, pushed Russo to sweeten the deal, if you will. The original offer was 10% annual gross revenue, which candidly, when we reviewed the deal initially, seemed to be a reasonable amount. But after we looked at it further and after all the changes that you made, if you recall, the project was originally 315 units, 500 plus parking spaces, so much retail. The deal morphed and morphed and morphed, and the more we looked at it, I finally spoke to Ed Russo himself today and told him what we thought the deal should be, and he agreed. So 10% of annual gross revenue will be the pilot, or the annual service charge is the statutory term, but it's known colloquially as a pilot payment of lieu tax. 10% of everything that is made from that project will come to the borough of Garwood for the first 15 years. For years 16 through 25, or the next 10 years, you'll get 11% of that annual gross revenue. Again, every nickel that comes in, every time somebody pays to park, every time somebody rents an apartment, every time somebody pays to have a pet in an apartment, if that's in fact what they do, any item of revenue comes into the borough of Garwood. For the final 5 years, you get 12% of the annual gross revenue. A question is often raised, well, how do we know what we're getting? You'll get a certified audit. Someone that's going to be a CPA is going to put their name, their reputation on the line to tell you exactly what every line item is that they receive as an item of credit. An item of revenue. So that is what you will get. You'll get it at the end of each year. There is normally a true-up that has to occur. The first year will be on an estimation. They expect their rents to be, you do that, and then you true it up. Some of the mechanics, and I know Councilwoman Blumenstock has some questions about this, but some of the mechanics are, of that pilot, 95% is borough revenue, 5% goes to the county. That's statutory. There is also a statutory land tax credit. And what that is the land tax credit is you get a credit, a dollar for dollar credit for the land taxes you paid in the prior 4 quarters. So while it initially looks a little bit, it looks complicated, it really just rolls. You have year 1, you pay the land taxes and the pilot. Year 2, you pay land taxes and the pilot and get a credit for what land taxes you paid in year 1. So generally speaking, if your taxes go up even incrementally, the credit in year 1 is always going to be less than what is paid in year 2, and that would roll all the way through the 30 years of the long-term tax exemption. The mechanism there for if you're not involved in the minutia of municipal taxes, which not everyone is every property, even if it is a church property, municipal property, whatever it is, you carry on the books an assessed value. So you can figure out what the land taxes are. You would always have a value for land. So that's what it would be. So then again, that would carry through the 30 years of the agreement. The agreement is for 30 years. It is cancelable at will by the redeveloper if they so choose, but it's been my experience, and I've been doing this for quite a while now, that it is never advantageous, economically advantageous for a redeveloper to cancel a pilot agreement, because that's why they entered into it in the first place. The deal will not pencil out if there wasn't a long-term tax exemption. That has been Russo's position since the beginning. And again, the other benefit to this is that you were able to satisfy some of your affordable housing requirements as part of the deal for the affordable housing litigation. I think those are the major high points. I'm not sure if I can clarify anything else for council at this time.
I think something just to be clear for the public, so with that annual audit, that would be done by an independent CPA so that we have 100% true numbers and the borough is getting exactly what it should.
Exactly. And it would be, it is an independent audit that would have to be provided. Russo would pay for it, but he'd have to provide it to the borough. And candidly, if you, for whatever reason, you thought, this doesn't look quite right, well, then you can always have your own person take a look at it, do a forensic, on your own. But I mean, candidly, it's not, it's for a CPA to sign something, they're putting their license on the line. If they're lying, they have a whole lot more to lose than just one client, which is really the whole idea. If a client asks you to say something that's not true, you'd rather practice as a CPA for the balance of your career than lose your license for any one.
The only question I have, okay, so this starts as soon as the project is finished?
When it's finished, correct.
Okay, so when it's finished, so during that time it was being constructed, the taxes are still going to be?
Taxes continue to get paid. And there's also, and I'm sorry, I forgot, Mr. Renaud asked me to make sure, there is a current tax appeals pending that will be withdrawn. And that's part of this as well, which is an important point that I neglected to fix, but that is also part of this deal. But, yeah, so that would then continue. They would continue until they pull a certificate of completion, or either a partial or full certificate of completion. And then that's when the long-term tax exemption would kick in. I said it was 30 years. It's 30 years from the inception, from when they pull the certificate of completion, or 35 years from execution, whichever is shorter. You can't have an exemption for greater than 30 years. But if their build-out was 4.5 years, they would still have the full 30 years of the tax exemption. If their build-out was 10 years, they'd only have 25 years of an exemption. Because it's 30 years from execution.
If you compare the old arrangement to what we were talking about with the pilot to the new arrangement, we could be estimating a net gain to the borough of about $1.8 million over the course of that 30 years.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's hard, as we discussed.
Hard to estimate.
It's hard to estimate, out 20 years, out 15 years. But it's people often say, well, what if the project does better? Well, rising tide raises all boats. If they make $1, you get 10 cents. If they make $1 million, you get $100,000. In the first 15 years. Don't ask me to do math beyond that, because I can't. But so it's, if the project does better, you do better. So it's, you will go along with the project as it goes. And candidly, I think, it's, while we think about it as being projections, it's hard to project, especially that far into the future. The projections, we're conservative. We're assuming we're conservative. So hopefully the project will do even better than they project, and the borough will do even better.
I mean, I had asked you about the projections and the increase in the revenue down the line. Why wasn't this picked up till now?
Well, Councilman, there's a couple things. It was picked up, as you recall, the deal morphed. It started out, I believe, at 300. When I was hired, there was 315 units projected and 500 plus parking spaces. And I think pretty universally what I heard from council, even those that thought it was a good thing for the borough, it was still too dense. They wanted it reduced. So then we reduced it. And then you will also recall that it went from 298 with 423 parking spaces to 298 with over 500 parking spaces. And the planning board came back here at 298, maximum 298 units and 469 spaces, I believe now. Sorry, was the original number, yeah. So the projections were always changing. And the other thing you said to me is, well, if the numbers were different, we could have done something different. You can't. First of all, you need the units to meet your COA obligation. But second of all, this deal is very thin. The first 15 years of this deal is very thin. So if we tried to cut more units off of this deal at the very beginning, you wouldn't have had a deal. So put the COA equation aside, and I know the COA equation is really what's driving the deal, but put that aside, you never would have done the deal because you couldn't have survived the first 15 years. The internal rate of return grows after year 15, but you only get to year 16 if you've had years 1 through 15, and you wouldn't have had those years. So, you know, you were kind of trying to hit a moving target. You're negotiating density and pilot ratios at the same time, and as they change, they're going to change. But to your point about, well, we could have had less units, you couldn't. You couldn't have had less units because of the COA, and I'll leave that to Mr. Renaud, but you also couldn't have had less units because it couldn't have gotten built. You know, people always say, well, what would have happened? I mean, it's not the question you're asking, but people will often ask me, well, you know, what would it pay in conventional taxes? It would pay zero in conventional taxes because it doesn't get built with conventional taxes because the numbers are not there. People will not invest their money in as risky a adventure as real estate without a decent rate of return. So,
Well, I mean, the COA units are, you know, they're 30. So, I mean, they're nothing.
well, I don't think they're nothing. I mean, that's.
Like I said, I think it should have been 15%. If you were gonna satisfy COA with what they're requiring, it should have been 15.
Okay.
And then that could have been less units down the line for somewhere else. I also would have taken the less density as opposed to the money at the end.
But that's my point, is you're assuming that the money was there at the end. The money is not there at the end. You don't get to year 16 tomorrow. You have to go through years 1 through 15 first. And if years 1 through 15 are at an IRR less than 7%, there is no developer in the world, I don't think, that's going to build with that type. You have to have some type of profit in the beginning years. Thin as it may be, you still need some type of profit. And you know, it's been my experience that they're not going to build. Maybe they would have, but they were tough to get down to 298. I'm confident that it wouldn't have gone lower, but I also don't have a crystal ball. So,
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
okay, very good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Ms. Ariano?
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Ariano, roll call, please.
Yes. Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilman Kukrow.
No.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Petroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Disco.
Aye.
Public hearing,
Just introduction. Just introduction. I got one more.
Okay.
17, 15.
sorry, 17-09, by title
No,
only, please.
15. We just finished
Oh.
14. We're on 15.
Oh.
Okay. We're
One
good?
wrong page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ordinance 1715, ordinance to
Thank
amend Article 8, Borough Engineer, and Chapter 5, Administration of the Code of the Borough of Boroughs, to amend Section 48 to 49 for the position of Borough Engineer.
Do I have a motion to introduce 17-15?
So moved.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Aye.
Councilwoman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Petroselli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
And Council President Disco.
Aye.
Moving on, council standing committee reports and other reports. Please, Councilman Petroselli.
Thank you, Mayor. This year's summer recreation program has been moved to Hartman Park. The Recreation Department will also be using the facilities at Lincoln School for some of their activities. Please be alert when driving on 2nd Avenue for the increase in pedestrian traffic in and around Lincoln School and Hartman Park. In addition to the borough's recreation program, the Westfield Area Y has informed us that they will be holding their summer camp programs at Washington School from June 26th through August 30th between the hours of 7 a.m. and until 6:30 p.m. Mondays through Fridays. Please be alert when driving in the area of Washington School. The dog days of summer are upon us. A better way to beat the heat than to take a dip in a pool. Please remember some simple rules to make your backyard oasis a safe environment for all. 1, make sure the fence surrounding the pool is closed at all times. 2, never leave children unattended while they are near the pool. And 3, it's always a good idea to learn CPR classes, and they can be found locally through the following websites: cpr.heart.org and redcross.org. That's all from my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Public Health, Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. $10 million was given toward the new lead regulations in the state of New Jersey. as some of the guidelines have changed and the amount registered in the blood was modified. It is going into a general fund and not directly to individual Board of Health because they cannot be guaranteed that the money would be used for lead-based testing and all materials associated with that. There will be 30% of the funds will be going to machines, consumer goods, and lead testing. They're going to be allocating $1,000 for each case of lead contamination. This was written in legislation that was supported by Nancy Munoz. There were a lot of groups lobbying for this, including the Health Officer Association. The Westfield Board of Health implemented their new software, which they like very much, as it can be used while on the road to input all information from their many inspections. 2 Garwood children received bike helmets. Megan participated in Operation Gotham Shield. This was a simulation for an attack of radiological warfare, and needless to say, our state was not ready for such a projection based upon 300,000 dead. They were testing for emergency preparedness. A lot of work to do, but she said it was very enlightening. They applied for an emergency preparedness grant and it was agreed to. Glad to see they are using some of that money that could save our lives. There will be no supplement for flu vaccines due to insurance issues. They are working on their options, but did mention that the people getting these shots have decreased greatly, as there are so many other options to get these inoculations. They're going to see if they can maybe co-op with Walgreens or CVS. On July 10th, the Westfield Board of Health will be partnering with Chatham, and the Westfield Board of Health was audited by the State Board of Health. It took about 5 hours and weeks of preparing, but all was okay. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Streets and Roads Ecology, Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to normal garbage and grass pickup, the DPW continued to weed all of the mulch beds at the Sports and Recreation Complex and watered the flowers in the roadside pots within the right-of-way areas on a daily basis. They removed the grates and installed mulch around the shade trees along Maple and Chestnut. And they also cut the grass at the abandoned house at 219 Cedar Street to alleviate the overgrown condition, as was talked about earlier. In addition, the DPW began the annual storm sewer inspection and cleaning program as required by the NJDEP. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Fire, Councilman Sarno.
Thank you, Mayor. The Fire Committee approved a membership application for Jeffrey Felter of Westfield. He has passed his physical and background requirements. That's all for my report.
Thank you. Finance, Council President Tedesco.
No report tonight, Mayor.
Thank you. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Lazaro.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Laws and License, Councilman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. The committee hereby recommends the adoption of resolution number 17-137 for the renewal of consumption licenses. Resolution 1738, the renewal of one club license, and 17-139 for the renewal of retail liquor licenses in the Borough of Garwood for the term commencing July 1st, 2017 until July 30th, 2018. Also, the Laws and License Committee recommends the following. The committee recommends the adoption of resolution number 17-141 for the application of 3 on-premise 50/50 raffle licenses to be drawn on November 15th, 2017, March 20th, 2018, and March 30th, 2018 at the Westwood by Mother Seton Regional High School. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Recreation, Councilman Petrozelli.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Committee, or the Recreation Commission, had their meeting on June 19th. Discussion took place on the summer recreation program, which started yesterday, and finalizing the amount of full-time and alternate counselors that are needed. The use of the school bus was approved by the Board of Ed at a cost of $600. Discussion also took place about the senior dinner, which looks like it will be in September this year. Dates are being discussed with the Knights of Columbus for availability. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Garwood Senior Liaison, Councilwoman Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. At our last meeting, I updated everyone on the latest with the redevelopment, and we had a great lunch donated by Dooley's Funeral Home Westfield. Yesterday was the seniors' trip to Atlantic City. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it, so I'm eager to hear how it went. And the senior picnic is this Thursday at 12 at the rec complex. That's all for my report, Mayor. Our next meeting is July 6th.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Library Mayor's Representative, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. So far, 38 children have signed up for the library's 23rd annual summer reading program. The first summer reading event, the Mad Science Engineering Challenge Assembly, was held at the Lincoln School. It was attended by about 325 children. On Friday, June 23rd, children got to pet wallabies, sugar gliders, pigs, and more at the Exotic Mammal Show. And this event was attended by 39 people. You can check out pictures on the library Facebook page. And this past Wednesday was the first Build a Better Wednesday, where children built towers with newspaper and spaghetti, bridges with popsicle sticks. Today, kids will be making frog banks out of soda bottles. Tomorrow, the library will be making wind chimes with recycled materials. Every Thursday in July will be Lego Club. Summer hours for the library will begin July 1st. The weekday hour will remain unchanged. However, the library will be closed on Saturdays during July and August. Regular Saturday hours will begin again on Saturday, September 9th after Labor Day. That's all from my report.
Thank you, Councilman. School Board Liaison, Councilman Sarno.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Celebration of public events and holidays, Liaison, Council President Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilwoman Livingston.
Thank you, Mayor. We met last night and got an update on the Part 150 study, which is the study to address the noise impacts surrounding EWR. The study develops noise maps and determines ways to mitigate that noise. So they've come up with revised maps, and starting in September, we'll begin collecting suggestions and strategies for noise abatement, and then we'll develop a report. This will probably take through the fall and into New Year's. We had a resident from Cranford attend the meeting to report on increased air traffic noise she's experiencing over her home in Cranford, especially during the evening hours. And air traffic has actually increased 10.1% over the past year, and it seems that, at least anecdotally among the members, there is some noise increase going along with that. There are websites that residents can use to make noise complaints, including panyj.gov. On that site, you can also track flights in real time and see which planes are flying over your home. One topic brought up that we'll be watching in the future is the federal administration's proposal to privatize air traffic control. So our next meeting will be in September. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Administrative Review Committee, Councilman Kukrow.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Historical Committee, Council President Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilman Sarno.
As discussed, we'll be meeting shortly to go over the business permits. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Councilman, are you going to get me those reports on the 3 ordinances?
Yep. I've been waiting for you.
Very good. Okay, we move on to officers' report. Ms. Ariema, please.
Chief of Police James Wright, monthly report for May 2017. Municipal Court Administrator LaShawn Ferrant, monthly report for May 2017.
Do I have a motion to accept the officers' report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone and state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Martel, and members of the council.
Bruce Patterson.
I guess it's the CPA that's going to be auditing every year. Do we know who's going to pick that, whether it's the council or it's the developer?
I can shed light after you go.
Okay. No, hopefully that can be resolved. And I don't know if anybody can tell me, but I mean, like, we're looking at a pilot on the Casal property, and there's also the normal tax assessment for property taxes. Why are we going with the pilot? Is it a lot easier than trying to assess a large project like this? I was not in any discussions, obviously, when the pilot came about. Somehow, it's now in discussion and going to be voted on. But I mean, does anybody know the difference? Did anybody ask that question?
Well, that was set up before it got to council, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry? Pilot.
Councilman Sarno's going to
Councilman Sarno.
address those comments.
And I guess bottom line is normal tax assessing and so property taxes would be assessed versus the pilot? Is one larger than the other, or, you know, I'd like to know if we're really losing on this deal. But coming out of this, that Mr. Northridge explained, I mean, the 10% of gross revenue sounds like a great idea. So I mean, that kind of makes me happy hearing that we will get more than just 10% of the rent, but 10% of whatever other revenue such as market. So that was a great idea. I appreciate the hard work going into that. Just another question. On the consent agenda is 17-140, and that's designating the developer and authorizing the execution of a development agreement. And previously on 523, there was an ordinance 1706 adopting the South Avenue Transit-Oriented Redevelopment Plan. I guess, is that like normal procedure? You know, there's first an ordinance that was voted on, and then the consent agenda. I don't know if anybody's going to discuss about that. And then lastly, and I think I mentioned this, Mayor, Saturday, but the going down to the county and asking for some kind of relief for all the town's reassessment costs, I guess it's coming to naught. They came up with a concept that it's illegal, or not permissible, let's say, based on, you know, and the tax board is actually an autonomous board, so I don't see where a conflict of interest arises. But that's what they say. Maybe I'll try to Oprah some kind of case law or some kind of opinion to hear exactly what the basis of the county denying this concept about. And pushing forward, and I talked about this at the Mountainside Council, that possibly instead of this relief for reassessment costs, that possibly the county can actually come out with a per house tax relief for all the homes in the county. And just for example, there's about 180,000 homes, and if you do $100 a home, that's like $18 million. They have a surplus, sitting on a surplus $43 million. $18 million would bring it down to about $25 million in their surplus, which is 5% of their budget, which to me would be sufficient for whatever issue surplus is used for. So anyway, so I mean, you know, I guess I will be falling back and reformulating the concept, going to town to town. And anyway, that's my idea, that, you know, we really should be getting some of this tax, this surplus from the county as tax relief to all 21 towns, because they're sitting on a lot of money, and I've said this, so I won't belabor the idea, but, you know, they're sitting on a lot of money. It's basically our money. When I say our money, the taxpayers' money. So I'd like to see that money come back to the taxpayers of Union County, instead of going to people down at the county getting 6% raises for some reason, and whatever else they're doing with that money. So anyway, so that's my comment on that, and if somebody can answer some questions.
Councilman, you have.
The answer is no.
Yeah.
Sure. We talk about the CPA firm and the county firm that does do this kind of thing. It's going to come from Russo. It's going to be his independent CPA firm. You got to remember, they're just the same way we hire Sussman Clooney in our own firm, they have to act independent. That's how they keep their CPA firm, or that's how they keep their license. So that's going to directly come from them. They have certain.
We have to challenge that.
Okay, yeah, so you do get something with approval?
Yes. If we have, because I work in retail, and not retail itself, but accounting for retail. So there are certain times where we have certain tenants, because they're on a month-to-month basis, they have to give us audited financials on their sales reports. Okay? Those are coming from their own firms.
All right, I'd just like to see both parties obviously involved.
And we'll see you at the next meeting at the school on the 11th. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. An observation and maybe just a question. Russ Grant, 12 Liberty Court, sorry. For Councilman Sarno, the parking committee. Just walking around in town and going to some of the businesses on Center Street, the retail. They've all pretty much expressed the same concern. All the parking on Center is 1 hour. The signs are right there, 60-minute parking. So I assume that when those signs went up, there was some measure of enforcement to make them mean something. So did something happen to that? Did someone lose their job, or, you know, how are we going to enforce what we're going to propose in the future if we're not enforcing what's, you know, signed as it is?
If I may just add, that's why he basically has 3 different organizations working with him, such as the BW Police, and that we discussed.
It also goes hand in hand with my recommendations or workshop. I'm sure you heard, making an establishment of a parking enforcement officer. I can't speak to what was done previous to my time on council and how the enforcement was done, but I can tell you that we don't have dedicated personnel to enforce the parking that we currently have. That's why we want to establish the ordinance for when the time comes that we want to cross that bridge. If you remember, I mean, I'm sure those from the committee will talk about, the timetable could be as early as this fall, it could be a little bit later, but we're trying to get the wheels in motion and establish the ordinances in such a manner that we can do this, and we can go after the problem, tackle the problem that you're bringing up.
My comment was not meant to be criticism.
No, I didn't
I
take it that way.
appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
I just don't want us to spend a lot of energy if we're not going to follow through and make it meaningful.
No problem.
Thank you.
I take it that way.
Yeah, that's part of the parking committee getting that all taken care of.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved, Mayor?
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
I didn't expect that to go that way, so.
Okay.
Going too smoothly, is that the problem?
Yeah.
Are we voting on the whole consent agenda?
Yes, we are.
So I can
That's
pull
what I
something
thought.
out?
Would you like to pull out?
That's what I expected.
So
So it's
17,
counted, it's 140.
140.
Yeah, she wants it to be,
I want to believe it.
Okay, 1 second, please.
I already prepared it that way.
Huh?
I was waiting, that's why I
I
put it
already
down.
prepared it that way. Now I need a motion to adopt this amendment.
I'll make that motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Blumenstock. Aye. Councilwoman Kuzaro.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pizzelli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Disco.
Aye.
Okay, adopt a motion to adopt ordinance 17-1.
No, you need an ordinance, amendment. It's resolution 17. You said ordinance, resolution.
Resolution.
Resolution 17-140.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Discussion.
Discussion.
I have no words left.
Ms. Ariano, roll call, please.
Councilman Blumenstock. Aye. Councilman Kuzaro.
No.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pizzelli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Disco.
Aye.
Any new business for the council this evening? Hearing none, moving on, payment of claims. Ms.
Be it
Ariano.
resolved, the following claims as approved be and the same are hereby ordered paid when properly signed and verified and payment of bills as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
Do I have a motion for payment of claims resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Blumenstock. Aye. Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pizzelli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
And Council President Disco.
Aye.
I believe we have an executive session, Ms. Ariano.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Resolution 17-146, closed session resolution authorizing executive session for the purpose of discussing contract negotiations related to shared services, construction code enforcement, and personnel matter, appointment of municipal engineer, and matter of attorney-client privilege relating to and above and in accordance with NJ SAA 10-4 closed session meeting public to the public, meeting of the public, subject matter, whereas the Pennsylvania Mayor and Council will authority to conduct an executive session closed to the public in order to discuss the subject of matters now therefore be resolved that the council will authority hereby move into executive session in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act and VSA 10-4 for the purpose of discussing the subject stated above and be further resolved the minutes that the matters discussed in and the minutes of the closed session shall be disclosed to the public when a reason for confidentiality no longer exists. Action may be taken.
Do I have a motion for the executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Ariano.
Councilman Blumenstock. Aye. Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman Pizzelli.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Council President Disco.
Aye.
Okay. Michelle, proceed to the